Welcome to the Rugby Paper Roundup. I'm your host Charlie, joined by Ben as I was last week. Ben, how are you doing?
Yes, all good. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for having me. Back-to-back weeks. Yeah, it feels good. I got the call up for the second week. All good. The weather's not looking too strong at the minute. I think we're heading now towards autumn. I think summer might be over, but autumn just means more rugby. So yeah, we've got only a week now until the Premiership starts. Women's World Cup. Getting towards the business end now, and then loads of other stuff. Loads of rugby to cover. Rugby Championship. Championship is back soon. Prem Cup's underway. Yeah, it's a good time to be a rugby fan, I think.
Yeah, exactly. You impressed in your first appearance and got the call up again, as you say. But no, it's good to have you on again. And for those who may not know, Ben is from the Rugby Paper itself. Writes a lot for the paper, so you can get the paper. It's an online copy. You can get a physical copy as well. So make sure to pick up the Rugby Paper itself if you like what Ben has to say, and like what he's saying. But anyway, onto the main stuff. We've obviously got the Women's World Cup semis this weekend. Two absolutely massive games. Probably the semis that most people were expecting. I mean, what do you make of the quarters first, though, Ben?
I think, you've hit the nail on the head there. It's been a case of everything's kind of gone as expected in terms of this Women's World Cup. There's been a few surprise performances. South Africa did really well to reach the quarterfinals, first time in their history, I believe. Obviously, great to see so many more new nations make a berth, like Brazil, and it was obviously Samoa brought a lot of character, should we say? They're always fun to watch. Fiji as well. Maybe people didn't expect Wales to perform so poorly. Actually, they'll be absolutely devastated to have gone 0-3. That was a real missed opportunity, particularly with the World Cup literally on their doorstep. But yeah, this is where it really heats up. Semi-final time. One obviously, two of the big four, will be out, and we'll have to settle for a bronze final, which no one ever wants to play in, no matter what they tell you in the media. So I'm really looking forward to Friday night's game, and then obviously Saturday afternoon's game as well. So yeah, it's gonna be really quite nervy for all four sides competing. France were a tad fortunate to beat Ireland in the end. It did look like that was going to be a major upset, but in the end, they just about had enough to kind of stutter their way into the last four. They've got a really tough fixture now, so it will be very intriguing to see how the two games at Ashton Gate play out.
And I mean, the main event I would say is probably actually not the England game, and is Canada versus New Zealand. So I mean, how do you see that one panning out? Because I still think France is slightly below those three.
I mean, Canada, New Zealand should be that's definitely the tie out the two. I will give a special shout out to New Zealand and give them a bit more promotion, because there was a few comments last week that apparently we didn't give Black Ferns enough coverage. So fair enough. They are worthy world champions, record 7-time winners as well. They've got arguably the greatest women's player of all time in Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe. And they are going to be a force. They know knockout rugby, but she would probably say, judged on the form, but looking at performances in the WXV and just in general since the last World Cup, that you'd have to say Canada are actually favourites, which is to someone who's not, to anyone that's not a women's rugby fan, that's probably quite surprising that Canada are actually favourites against a New Zealand side. Because obviously the men's game is just completely different. But Canada have got an amazing team full of talent in the PWR. The likes of Sophie de Goody. They are just a brilliant outfit, and you'd probably say they're second favourites to win the World Cup. In terms of France, you're right, Charlie. I almost had egg on my face when Ireland were ahead. I had a significant lead going into the second half, and it did look like they were going to go out, and Ireland were going to make the semis, but they just about had enough to turn it around. Wouldn't write them off against England. I still think that'll be a competitive match. You saw again, like in the Six Nations at Allianz Stadium in the the last round of the kind of Grand Slam decider, wasn't it? In this year's Six Nations, there's only a couple of points in it, and then they staged that amazing comeback, and they were lucky. England were lucky in the end that time ran out on them, because it was only going one way. So yeah, I wouldn't rule them out still. I still think they'll be a force, but no, the pick of the bunch is Friday night's game. That is going to be a spectacular contest. You're looking at, historically, New Zealand have dominated the World Cup, but then on current form, you'd have to say Canada. So I think that would be a really, really close match. I would probably say Canada. I'm going to say Canada will make the final. I think it'll be a Canada-England final, which would be amazing. It'd be nice to have a different final than New Zealand-England for a change, but we shall see.
Yeah, and obviously with it being a semi-final, a few more eyes on the sport for the Women's World Cup. A few more fans kind of getting to get. Well, I say getting to games. Obviously, there's been plenty in the stands anyway, but more I guess watching on the tellies. There'll be more. So Ben, I just wondered if you could kind of pick out maybe one player from each team to look out for. I know you've mentioned a few names already, but so you can re-mention them as well if you want. But a few names to kind of look out for each team, sort of for people who may not necessarily be that well versed about the women's games.
Yeah, so I think I'd have to say, England's a very difficult one. I'll start with them, but they are boosted by the return of Elliott from concussion, so that's huge. Everyone knows how good the Women's World Player of the Year is. She obviously missed the quarterfinal with that concussion. Also, Hannah Bottoman is back as well from her back spasm, so it's fantastic to see her back in the fold. But I think Kildun is made for the big stage, so I think I'm really excited to see how she goes. Maybe, she was amazing against USA. Obviously didn't play. No, she did play against Samoa, but then obviously then she missed the quarterfinal. Didn't have the best of games against Australia, so you could probably say that for her height, she's had a little bit of an underwhelming tournament so far. But she loves these fixtures. She'll be absolutely well up for Ashton Gate on Saturday afternoon. In terms of the France squad, I think you've got the experienced old head at 9, Pauline Bourdon-Santos, who is an amazing scrum half, arguably one of the best of all time. Actually, I think she'll be leading the way. Very precise box kicks, a lot of important exits inside their own 22, but will also know when to engineer a counter attack against an England defence that can be got at, which that's proven, against France in particular this year. So she'll be guiding that. And then for Canada, like I mentioned, Sophie de Goody, who applies her trade with Saracens in the PWR, a back rower, incredibly ferocious ball carrier. Does all the turnovers, what you would expect from your traditional number 8, but also she kicks the goal and is really good at it as well. It's very rare to have any forward as your primary goal kicker, but she is a dead eye off the tee, a real marksman, and one to really watch out for. So she does it all. She can carry, she can kick, she can tackle, she can jackal. She is the all-round rugby player. You could probably play anywhere from 1 to 15. She's one of the real stars of the game right now, and someone that New Zealand will be very, very cautious of.
Yeah, a kicking back row is very rare, like you say, and it's unbelievable how good she actually is. So I mean, fair play. That just shows versatility, like in absolute abundance. I mean, I feel like we've summarised the Women's World Cup. Well, you've summarised it pretty well there, obviously giving predictions and everything. So I'll just move on quickly to finish. So obviously it's the Premier Rugby Cup, but firstly, I guess, who do you think is going to win that? Obviously, it's not necessarily the biggest competition, but if you can predict someone to win the competition as a whole, who do you think's going to do it, and why? I guess.
Oof, difficult, because obviously so many of these games you'll see a lot of rotation, a lot of young talent coming through. And also a lot of chance for like fringe players to get themselves back in the fold, or give players returning from injuries a run out as well. It's clearly not the priority for Premiership clubs. Obviously, they'll be looking at European competition, obviously, and the domestic league. But it is an important competition for bleeding through young talent. I mean, I obviously run the Young Guns column in the Rugby Paper, and the amount of exposure the Premiership Cup gives players is amazing. It's a real stepping stone from academy rugby or international age grade rugby into men's senior rugby. It's a hell of a jump in terms of physicality, because you are playing against a lot of the time world class players that are maybe on their way back from injuries, or just having a run out just to get minutes under their belt. To answer your question, obviously Bath won it last year. They have an amazing academy, so much strength and depth now with all the new signings that have come in. It's actually just frightening how they've done that. So many Premiership winners from last season now are kind of up against it to get back into the Bath first team, and vice versa with the new recruits that have come in. How do they stake their claim and surpass some serious talent that showed how good they were as the Premiership standout side? So I think you would struggle to look past them in terms of depth, in terms of the team that they could put out most weeks would be a bit too strong for many others. I worry for squads that have got quite quite slim on terms of their strength and depth. One springs to mind would be Bristol Bears. They operate on quite a skinny squad overall. They've got an amazing, exciting back line, loads of grunt up front. I think are well equipped to go well in the Premiership this year, and they are the league's entertainers as well. Absolutely love watching them with the names they have. But in terms of the Prem Cup, their salary cap, I think, is a little bit below the rest, and is just in terms of like the actual squad depth just isn't there. And certainly if I think about fly half as well, they're very short there. So I would say Bristol might struggle. And yeah, to be honest with you, I think my prediction would be Bath to do it again.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like that's a pretty decent prediction. Yeah, it's hard to look past them. And same with the Prem. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk more about the Prem itself next week. But yeah, and just a last one. Obviously, you mentioned about the Prem Rugby Cup obviously being amazing for young talents. Is there any like one particular young player who you think might emerge this season from the Prem Rugby Cup? I know that's quite a big question, and there's a lot to choose from. But if you could maybe pinpoint one who you think might make their breakthrough this season.
Oof, yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, particularly when I have to interview a different kind of predominantly England under 18s player each week. So it would be quite unfair to single out just one. But I mean, for example, in this Sunday's the Rugby Paper, yeah, I had a really good chat with Aidan Ainsworth Cave at Northampton Saints. He's obviously a young back row. He's coming through the age grades. He's done England under 18s and then played under 20s this year in the Six Nations and the World Championship. He talked about his frustration of being restricted in terms of game time so far in the under 20 setup. He's I think 7 out of 8 of his appearances have come from the bench, so he's really hungry for next year to become a starter for the under 20s team that are now being led by Andy Tittrell, which is an interesting appointment as well. So I'm going to say him. I think if he's going to become a starter, he's going to have to perform very well in the Premiership Cup. And but Northampton have got loads of great young talent coming through. I mean, you look at Johnny Wyman's rise already. They've had guys like Ruben Logan in the past, and then you've seen obviously Henry Pollock. So many young players that have just exploded. So I would say Aiden gets my shout out, but very difficult because there's just so much young talent in the England pathway right now that will use the Premiership Cup as a really useful stepping stone.
And I guess that's what makes the question so difficult, the fact that there is so much talent to choose from. But yeah, I mean, make sure to check out the Rugby Paper to hear all about Ben's interview with Aidan Ainsworth Cave. But no, I mean, I feel like we've quite a lot there, so we'll finish it off there. But thank you very much, Ben, for coming on, and thank you everyone else for watching. So appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Charlie.